Hi, welcome to Fiberchats. My name is Irina. I'm the host here. And today I have a host of another podcast. It's called Nerdy Knitting Podcast. Tonia Lyons, welcome to my channel.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
And it's funny because I told you like, oh, you're not going to be nervous because you know exactly what's happening. And you said you never
No,
been.
I'm nervous. I'm very nervous.
Well, you have one thing in common with me. Well, you have a lot of things in common with me, as we just discovered during our chat before this interview. But one of the things is that you learn to knit as an adult, not as a child. What made you decide to learn to knit?
Well, it was 2017, Thanksgiving. My sister-in-law is a knitter, and they had come over for Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving here in Canada. And I was like, why don't you just teach me how to knit? So we went to like a local store and bought some double pointed needles. And I was like, five needles. This is so good. You only need two. And, I had no idea you'd need all five. And some like dishcloth yarn. So she taught me how to cast on and knit a dishcloth. And that was just like the absolute beginning. Like I fell in love with it immediately. I think it was like a time in my life I was sort of transitioning. I had homeschooled my daughter and she was getting close to graduating and I was thinking of like what's next in my life and just knitting just seemed to come along at the right time. And I just fell in love with it right away.
Well, once I interviewed Suzanne Bryan, and she has this concept that some people are just born knitters, which like meant to be knitters, right? And she was claiming that I'm one of them because I took to knitting like right away and I didn't stop from the day I learned. I don't think there was a day that I didn't knit. Um, do you feel like you were born to knit?
I think so. Yes. Like my mother-in-law says kind of the same thing. Because she knits as well, and she's knits and she was very young, but she's like, no, no, I can knit, but you're a knitter with a capital K. Because she might do a blanket like once every couple of years and that's it. But I'm like you, like there's always knitting. I don't leave the house without knitting. Like there's always some in my purse. You never know you're going to be stuck somewhere and you need something to do. And I don't like to scroll through my phone. So knitting makes me feel more productive.
So you started with that dishcloth, and then you found yourself in handmaster knitter program by the Knitting Guild. Tell me like what happened in between those two events.
When I learn something new, I get a little bit obsessive about it. My husband would say a lot. Like I will like Google and research and get all the books from the library. And I found the Knitting Guild Association, I think in let me see, I started knitting in 2017. Like the next year in 2018, I found the Knitting Guild Association and the Master Hand Knitting Program. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I might as well just, I've got time. My daughter's older. She doesn't need me like right at her shoulder while she's doing her schoolwork. What can I do to still be home? So I'm like, why don't I just educate myself? I did the basics course first in like fall 2018, I think, just because I wanted to get an idea of what the program was like before, tackling the first level. And then I started level one that fall. The basics course was pretty quick. And then level one, I think, took me about 6 months. Um, but I treated it kind of like I was in school. My daughter, she was homeschooled, so she was sitting on one side of the table doing her schoolwork, and I was sitting on the other doing mine, like just knitting my swatches and doing my research. And then just after I passed that, I bought level two, and that took just about a year, I think, level two. And then I took a break. It was March 2020, and I needed a break from that. So I took the teacher certification instead because it was in my daughter's last year of homeschooling. And along with homeschooling her, I'd started like a homeschool website and it kind of turned into like a little business on the side. And I was going to be done homeschooling. I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this website. There's no reason. I'm not homeschooling anybody. So I ended up selling it. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? She's graduating. I'm kind of done. What am I going to do next? And, I hadn't been like in the workforce or anything like that in years because I'd been home with my daughter. And my husband's like, well, you still love to teach and you love to knit, so why not teach knitting? And I mean, I had done 2 levels of the master's program. I'm like, that could work. And it was 2020 and, everybody was stuck at home. So I signed up for the teacher certification course and I started doing that. And that one of the parts in there was you have to record a video. And like, of course, the only place to upload a video and then share it with somebody is YouTube. So I put it on YouTube to put it with the course. And I loved like creating the lesson plans and doing all like I just love that part of the process. And so I finished the certification course, started my YouTube channel, did the tech editor certification, and then went back to level 3. And that took me 2 years to finish. I think I finished in like I finally passed in April 2022, I think. So that's like, yeah. So now, yeah, I'm teaching.
Well, one of my favorite hand master knitters from the guild is Charles Gandy. I just adore him, and
Yes.
he's the guest of my channel. And so he unlike us, he's been knitting since before he could walk, basically. His mom was a knitwear designer. And
Was
so
she really? Oh, wow, that's neat.
and when he decided to do the handmaster knitting program, he thought he's going to do it in a year, he's going to fly through it, and he sent his swatches, and they all came back, and it was all wrong, and his tension was wrong, and he struggled with that. Did you struggle with any part of that? Was it easy for you?
The first level was surprisingly not hard, and I didn't have much to resubmit. I don't actually put anything on Ravelry, but I did upload my swatches and my progress with those. So I don't know if you want to link below to that. So if anybody's interested in seeing. But the first level, yeah, I did it in 6 months, and my list of like resubmits was pretty short. So and I started level 2 right away, thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. Oh man, like everything I had to resubmit so much. Like I just got lazy. I don't know with level 2. Like even my blocking, they're like, nope, your edges are wonky. Like nope. I just for some reason, like I got it in my head that I just knew what I was doing, and level 2 proved that I didn't. I had to resubmit all of the swatches for the seaming. All of my seams were bad. Like yeah, so level 2 was probably my hardest one. All the finishing, like I was terrible at like all the finishing seams and all of that stuff. But level 3 wasn't bad, but yeah, level 2 was actually probably my worst.
I mean, is it humbling to
Yeah,
go through this progress?
very, very. Especially, I mean, after level 1, I'm thinking, oh, well, I know everything, I know exactly what I'm doing. In level 2, they were like, no, you don't know what you're doing.
Okay, so like now you have degree in handmaster knitting, certificate in teaching, certificate in design. Do you know what you're doing? Do you still have the
No,
imposter syndrome?
no, no. And we talked about this before. I still have imposter syndrome. I'm working on it's going to come out pretty soon. A circular yoke sweater, and I've never designed. I mean, I've knit them, but I've never designed one and graded it for 9 sizes. So it's like starting from scratch. Like just I feel like every time I want to tackle something new. Yeah, like I mean, the master's program really does teach you how to research. So that's I feel where I really learned is so I can take that knowledge of like, okay, I can do this. I can go get all my books out and my research and I can do this. Other people have done this. You're a master knitter. You can handle this. But it is kind of funny. Yeah, like the imposter syndrome is still there. Like every time when there's something new. Even helical knitting, I've never even, I mean, I heard of it, never thought about it. And then I'm like, okay, what is that? And I'm like, oh, is that all? Like, just don't twist your yarns and you're knitting in a spiral. I'm like, but you don't know what you don't know. Like we talked about that before too. Like there's just not any set curriculum about knitters need to go through these phases and stages of learning, but there's just so much.
Like I talk to a lot of people who consider going into the handmaster knitting program, and they think, well, maybe I don't know if I'm good enough for that. And you went in it as basically beginner at knitting and managed to do it. Do you think like we stop ourselves from trying things and from learning things because we think we are not there yet?
Oh, yes, yes. I think sometimes it's a personality thing. My personality is more like I'm just going to jump in and make all the mistakes and learn. My husband and my daughter, on the other hand, are like, no, no, I have to stop and figure this all out, see the big picture first. And I will have some grand plan to, I don't know, move some bookshelves around, and I have like the house all torn apart. And my husband comes home and he's like, "What have you done now?" I'm like, "Because I don't think about it first. I just do it." So I think, yeah, it's not a matter of being good enough. Like the program, you will learn through the program like you learn to evaluate your own knitting and the areas that you need to improve and the parts that you're good at. Like, you'll find the things that you like to do, whether it's cables or lace or whatever. Like, I think it's part of the learning process is you just have to be willing to fail and you have to, like just take it as a learning experience and move on and it's not a matter of you're not good enough. Like you don't know what you know until you start taking the course and you start working through the process. But yeah, I was a brand new well, less than a year knitting and I jumped in. So I mean, I've done, I don't know, some mittens and scarves and nothing huge. And then I started the program, but that was my education. Like I didn't come into it knowing a lot about knitting to begin with. So I guess I didn't have a lot that I had to leave behind because I didn't know anything. But I would say if you want to do it, then just go for it. But no, there's a lot involved. It's a lot of research and a lot of work.
I feel like part of it is sometimes when you don't know that something's supposed to be difficult, you just try it and you find that it's not difficult. And we have this preconceived notion of like, oh, that's helical knitting is gonna be impossible. Like don't think I can do it. I never heard of it, so it's probably very difficult. Like I had the same thing with sticking, and then
Yeah.
I decided to test knit the sweater, and there was six sticks in it, and somehow I managed just fine. And by the end of the six sticks, I could teach a class on sticking because like I got it.
I know, yeah. Like I think it's cables. When I teach, people always say they're so scared of cables because it looks so difficult. And then every person after I show them are like, is that all? I'm like, yes, that's it. There's nothing to be scared of. And it's just yarn and needles. Like, if it doesn't work, rip it out and do it again until you cut it. Then you can just keep reusing it. It's not like sewing or steeking where once you cut it, you're done. Like that's it. Like you can just pull it out and fix it. And I do that all the time. I think the more you
I saw like one of your so you have your channel is sort of like mixed bag of tricks also because there are some tutorials and just some of you just chatting. So in one of your episodes where you were just chatting and sharing what you were knitting, you somebody asked you about proper gauge and you were like, oh, like gauge what? Like, what do you mean gauge? Just knit something and then undo it, and then you know how many stitches you need for next time. How, like, what's your relationship after all these programs, right? Like, what's your relationship with gauge and with
Oh man, I have a terrible relationship with gauge. I, well, I did learn, yeah, one of the first swatches in the program is like doing one long rectangle with three different needle sizes. So I do that now if I'm swatching. I don't swatch for everything. Like I don't swatch for hats or mittens or shawls. Sweaters, yes, because I want them to fit. And I will do like three needle sizes all in the one swatch because I hate like doing the one swatch with the one needle size, measuring and then washing and then drying and then measuring my gauges off and I have to do it all again. I hate that. So I'd rather just knit one swatch with three needles and I mean, it's a bigger swatch, but I have everything there that I think I'm going to need. But then half the time my gauge is never exactly right. So I just like math it out and I figure out, like if which one I like the best and I'll use my own gauge and then just change the pattern because I have to change it anyway for my bust and my arms and everything else. So might as well do the gauge too.
And that's one of the skills that I feel like we as knitters, and I mean that in universal sense, sort of lost throughout the history because it used to be that everybody knew what proper garment, how it should fit them because they were making their own clothes. It was the same for knitting, like they knew how many stitches for the socks that's gonna fit them or stockings. And now we sort of like we expect the pattern to guide us and to tell us exactly how it should fit for our bodies, but our bodies are so different than like what size large looks on me and size large looks on somebody else. It's like completely different, right?
Mm.
Is that part of the things that you learn in the handmaster knitting program, how to take like any pattern and adjust it for perfect fit for you?
No, that's not covered in the program, but I mean, by the end, you have to knit like a whole sweater from your own, like you write the pattern yourself and it has to fit on a person because they want photographic proof that it's going to fit somebody. So when you can do that, I think it's easy to sort of like look at other people's patterns and well, yeah, reverse engineer even if you wanted to, but like adjust it to fit you. And I agree totally. Like we've lost that part maybe with all of the videos and like there's so much hand holding in patterns now compared to like vintage patterns that might be in a couple sizes and might not even have gauge information. Like they really knew their stuff back then, because but they did know about fit and sewing their own clothes. And I think we have lost a lot of that. And that's a skill that I think is important for knitters. I mean, you can have a pattern, but if you really want to customize it, then you need to know how to do that. And you can't expect the designer to do all of that for you. She doesn't know if your arms are 2 inches shorter than like the average body for the size you want to knit. Like, there's no way they can put all of that in a pattern. Like, if your bust is outside like the average B cup, like most women are, then you have to figure out those adjustments for yourself. It's just something you have to learn how to do and not expect the designer to hold your hand for that whole process.
Does that make it more difficult for you to write a pattern because you coming from it from like three different perspectives, right? Like you coming as a knitter who's still not sure that she knows everything. You coming as a designer with the certification, but you also coming as a woman who always adjusts the patterns for herself. Does that make it more difficult for you to write the comprehensive pattern? Do you feel like you're doing too much hand holding in your patterns?
I try to break it down depending on who the pattern, like if I'm publishing a pattern with like Cast On magazine or something. No, I just use the standard like Craft Yarn Council average sizes and I just follow the format and do that. Like the one I'm working on now is specifically for beginners with a video tutorial. So there's more hand holding with this one. So I try to come at it from that perspective, like who is this pattern going to be for? If I were writing something for like super advanced knitters, then I wouldn't have any hand holding. Like I would expect them to know how to do those things. So I do try to think ahead of time, basically who's the audience that this pattern is going to be for, and then cater it to them. I think that's probably mostly how I try to do. But yeah, every time it's like ground zero. If I'm starting something from scratch, then yeah. But like the most recent, the circular yoke, this is for beginners. So video tutorial and, walking through each step, how to pick your size, all of that kind of thing. But then fairly basic, like it doesn't have anything super advanced in it because it is just for beginners. But it is hard trying to decide like when you get an idea, okay, but you have to like pull it back and think, who's the audience? How much do I want to do with this? Do I want to do a big video tutorial or just write a pattern and put it out there without all of the extras? Like everyone is different.
When it came to YouTube, was it the same kind of journey for you? Like, did you go into the research? Did you do schools? Or was the camera on and you just went on and whatever's going to happen is going to happen?
Oh my, YouTube, that was a big learning curve. I had an online website and all of the other like social media and stuff, but I'd never done YouTube until that first video for my teacher certification. And at that time, like the practical side of me was if I want to reach an audience online with knitting, then it has to be with video. Like, it's a visual medium. Like you just need that for knitting. You can't just explain it. You like the videos help. And that was the first time like I just Googled like or went on YouTube and started watching knitting videos. I'm like, oh my word, there's a lot. I had no idea that there were so many that people watched, other people talk about their knitting. And I thought that was weird at first. Like, who wants to sit there and watch somebody for an hour show their projects? Now I do that. But at the time, I had no idea all the different kinds of videos. And I think in the early first year, it was more of like, let's just record whatever random thing knitting related and see what sticks. Let's see what people want to watch. Let's see what I enjoy doing. Like I think some of my early ones are just like, what's the difference between seed stitch and box stitch and all of like the increases. Then everybody does a video on how to knit, like there's a million of them out there. But I think it was good experience because I'd never done videos before. Like I recorded on my phone and then I'm like, okay, how do I get this on YouTube? I had no idea how to do it. I had to figure out how to plug my phone into my computer. Like I was totally ground zero again. So like I had to learn all of those skills on top of like the knitting stuff. So, and holding a camera over your hands while you're trying to knit and not lose the camera. And it's just, there was it's a lot to learn. So if you go back and watch those first videos, it's a lot different than it is now. Because now it's like, yeah, turn the lights on, there's the camera. Like I'm used to it now. Um,
But
and I think
when you do this sweater, you have some target audience in mind. So if it's for the magazine, you write differently than if you write self-publishing pattern. What about your YouTube? Like, who do you imagine watching you? Who is your target audience? Who do you talk to, like, when you look at that camera?
that has changed. Like at first, I wasn't quite sure. So I was just like, all knitters, every knitter can come watch these. But then as I started making more videos and talking to knitters and talking to people who watched the videos, and people asking questions because I would share, like I modified this in this pattern or modified that. And there were a lot of questions on that part of it, like especially like modifying a sweater to fit your body. So that seems to be like right now where I've landed, I guess. I had no idea when I started the channel that that's where it would go. But other things through the years, like sock tutorials, and like a whole year, I pretty much just talked about socks. But I think it was just a kind of fell into that topic. Like people wanted to know what I was talking about when I said, I didn't follow the gauge in the pattern, and I used my own, and my sweater fits. Or, adjusting a sleeve length or fitting my bust or something like that. So now that's kind of my audience is more like the garment knitter, but that could change. I mean, I could decide, something else in a year or whatever. But for now, I think that's like my focus area is helping knitters knit sweaters that fit their bodies the way they want them to.
Do you feel like when, I mean, when I watch your recap for the months of like what you've done, what you knitted through the months, you work on multiple projects at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, do you feel like YouTube pushes you to do that because there is an expectation of seeing the progress through different patterns, through different projects, or is that just your personality?
I think it's a combo of both. I did used to do like the weekly podcast, and I'm impressed with the people who can keep up with the amount of knitting you need to do to do that. But that's why I've gone to monthly because I usually have a lot of different things, but I don't really do a ton on any of them in a week. So it would be a very boring episode if I did it every week. So that's why I went to once a month. But I think it is kind of I don't know if YouTube influences that so much, but it's more like I just have a giant list of things I'd love to knit or techniques I'd like to learn, and then work things like if I'm designing for a magazine or something like that. So it ends up being like a combination of projects. And yes, in the past, YouTube definitely did influence that, but I had to cut back to just once a month because I couldn't knit enough in a week to have anything to show.
You need a lot of patterns by other designers. Like I just saw you did this shawl by Hohi, and there's like different designers that you need. And then you design your own, and then you also spin. And then I saw that you also dye your yarn. How do you manage it all? How do you balance it all? Is there like schedule to this madness? So it's just like whatever happens that day is going to happen?
I'm pretty scheduled. During the week, it's what I would call my work knitting. Um, well, Monday to Thursday. So if I'm designing for a magazine or working on a YouTube tutorial or something like that, then all of my knitting in that time is work related. Thursday to Sunday, I can dye my yarn, or I want to dye fiber next. That's the next thing I'm learning about. And my what I would call my personal projects when I knit from other designers. I think I would still say I'm pretty kind of like a fledgling designer. I have not released a bunch, and I'm still, goodness, every time I design a sweater, I'm starting from scratch because I've never designed a circular yoke before. Um, and I think I like to see how other designers write their patterns, or like they might use an interesting technique. Like Jennifer Beal has like every pattern. It's like some weird technique I've never done before. So I'm like, I just want to knit all of her sweaters because I'm just amazed at how she comes up with these. It's not just a drop shoulder sweater. It's got like steeped sleeves and all like just weird things.
I mean, I just like, for the record, I think Jennifer Bill is the most brilliant designer of this century. That's it, like,
Yeah.
period. Number one, right?
Yeah. She is like I'm amazed at what she comes up with and the techniques. Yeah. So every time I'm on her email list, so every time it's a new pattern, I'm like, okay, what has she done this time? Because it's just so different. So I want to, sometimes I buy them and I don't even knit them. It's just I want to see how it's done. Like I think that's so neat. And so I guess that part of me is like I still want to keep learning myself, even though I design and I'm a master knitter or whatever. I can still learn from other designers who've been doing this longer than I have. And half the time I just love the things they make and I want them for myself. So that's my weekend knitting is that those kind of things and my spinning. And it is a juggling act. I do deal sort of like I can kind of tell when I feel like there's burnout coming. So I try to scale back what I'm working on and give myself a little more free time because I mean, I'm at the computer most of the morning and then knitting in the afternoon, and it makes for a long day sometimes. So it's definitely a balancing act and one I'm certainly not perfect at, but I shut my computer off every afternoon, so no email. That's not even on my phone anymore because I would feel like I'd have to go answer questions and do things. And it's like my husband's like, you shouldn't be in bed at night, answering emails. Turn it off. So I have to set boundaries, and that's a work in progress.
Well, is it difficult not to respond to negativity? Like, I'm sure there are some comments out there who, that say something like, "Oh, and you sure you finished that program? And what did they teach you there? This is not how it's done." How do you deal with that?
Oh, well, I also took my YouTube comments off my phone because it was one of those things where like you're just going on with your day. Oh, let's stop and check my comments. And then it's some like, random like, oh, you're fat, you're ugly. What? I mean, there's just so many weird people out there. And then that kind of throws off your day. And I'm like, I can't live like that. So I only check YouTube comments first thing in the morning. It's like I get up, I have a treadmill down here. I get my on my treadmill. I do like all of the email and the YouTube comments. That's the only time I look at them because I'm in the right frame of mind in case there's one of those trolls, basically. Um, that has helped tremendously to like put it in this box that I only look at them at a certain time of day. So if there is some meanie out there, then I'm in the right frame of mind. Most of the time, I haven't had to deal with that. I mean, there is the random, you can tell, like teenage boy who thinks he's being funny, just delete and block. Like, I don't have a problem with that. And then, yeah, there are some times where it's sometimes a knitter who's been knitting since they were a child and, they kind of know it all, that kind of a thing. And I step back and this is my business. So I treat it like a business and I don't try to take it personally. A lot of the time people leave comments and they don't think about the other person on the other side and I try to assume maybe they're having a bad day and they're taking it out on me or just give them the benefit of the doubt and think about if somebody's going to screenshot what I say, how do I want to be presented out there? So I try to be careful with the way I comment and just keep it very professional and unemotional if I have to. It usually doesn't come up. And you can usually tell the difference between like just trolls and teenage boys is what my daughter would call them. Like, oh, that's just a teenager, just delete him. And like an actual person who just has not expressed themselves in the nicest way. Like you can usually tell the difference, but limiting that to like that time in the morning and not looking at them at the rest of the day has helped tremendously.
Well, because it's a business, right? And you treat YouTube as business, do you think about like what's gonna give you more views, or like how do you decide what you're gonna post next? Is there like a list of running ideas, like people ask question and I'll have to make tutorial about that? Or do you wake up in the morning and like, oh, today is a good day to just chat about whatever going on in my life? How do you decide what's gonna get you those views?
In the beginning, it was more of like focused on getting views and subscribers and all of that. But now I'm kind of in the place where I realize that, like, well, subscribers is just a vanity metric. It really doesn't mean anything. I mean, business wise, I got to pay the bills, and subscribers doesn't mean anything when it comes to paying the bills. And I feel like YouTube is tough because I treat it as part of my business, not my whole business. And I don't want to be like a YouTuber. Like I'm just not here to like just, ooh, can I get viral? Viral doesn't pay the bills either. Like AdSense does not pay that much. So going viral and getting tons of views, I'm not sure, at least for me, is what I want right now. For me, it's more I want to teach knitters. So by, I have classes I can teach them or patterns that they can purchase. So that's like the business side of it, and I can reach them on YouTube. So I try not to, I don't watch a ton of other knitting YouTubers because I don't want to try to copy them. I want to just, I want to focus on being who I am and teaching the way I want to teach. I do follow some, Roxanne Richardson, Suzanne Ryan, like really the good ones. Like I mean, oh, there's lots of good ones, but like the really technical, like I still want to learn, and I love learning from certain knitters. But like I just don't want to chase the views, I guess, because that at the end of the day, that doesn't pay my bills. So I want the right people to find my videos who I can help, the knitters who want to learn how to knit a sweater and have it fit their body, those kinds of knitters. So, or yeah, the knitters who, just want to come and watch a video while they're doing their knitting and they just want to hang out for an hour. Then I try not to focus so much on views because at the end of the day, it's a person on the other side, and I want to help that person improve their knitting skills.
You think they will sign up for your classes because you are a hand master knitter or because they like your bubbly personality and they think like, oh, if she's not sure of herself, it's going to be fun to learn from her because like we're learning together sort of thing. Like how much of yourself do you share on your channel?
Quite a bit. I mean, I don't share all my personal life things, but I try to just be myself. And with the classes I teach, I do think it's a mix of both. Like some people are like, "Oh, you're a master knitter, I should learn from you." And then other people, when there's one course I'm teaching, and I do show like I worked on this sweater, I did all this waist shaping, it looked awful, and I had already bound off, so I had to pull out the bind off, go all the way back to the waist, and redo the whole thing. And a couple people were like, "I didn't realize you had to do that, even though you're a master knitter." I'm like, "Yeah, I just have bigger mistakes now." Like it's just yeah, you learn how to fix your mistakes, that's for sure. But I think it's probably a mix of people, and I think that's what's nice about YouTube is there can be, I mean, there are lots of people who talk about knitting on here, and you find the ones that you can learn from, the ones that that you seem to connect with, and it's a great platform for that. Like you can have 5 different videos on double knitting, and there's one person that you just really click with in the way they teach. So there's definitely room for multiple teachers to cover the same topic because there's a lot of knitters out there who would want to learn from all of those teachers.
What's the most difficult thing for you to when it comes to teaching? Like, is it hard to decide what classes you're gonna teach, or are there difficult students? Are there people who are impossible to teach? Like, what's trips you in teaching?
When it comes to classes, I try to, I mean, because it's easy to get enthusiastic and want to teach everything, but you just can't. So you have to like focus. So I try to like focus on the things I feel like I know really well and the things I'm interested in talking about. And I like to tell, like, I have a class on fixing your knitting mistakes, and the first part of it is just on reading your knitting because I feel very passionate about having knitters understand what's happening on their needles and, why their stitches are twisted and all of these things. And they would be able to fix their mistakes if they could read their knitting. I could go on about that for a long time. But I think focusing on the things I'm passionate about when it comes to knitting helps in the teaching. And then because you're passionate about that topic, it's easy to learn multiple ways of doing things. Like I was teaching somebody to knit like from scratch and trying to show her the long tail cast on. She'd done the knit cast on, learned to knit and purl, and we were starting a hat, and I was going to demonstrate, I was trying to teach the long tail cast on, like the slingshot method. She could not get it. Like she was really struggling. So I'm like, okay, let's try it with like the thumb method where you and I hate doing that one because I find it so hard to do. And I had to stop and remember how to do it. And then I showed it to her and she took right off doing it that way.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like it, it like it fit her learning style. So I think when you focus on the things that you're passionate about teaching and you can learn different ways of doing that same thing so you have multiple ways of demonstrating it because sometimes you're going to have a student where one way won't work for them, but another way, perhaps one you don't like, is going to click. So it's better to have all of those skills sort of in your toolbox.
And I think it's like one of the best classes somebody can sign up for, like learning how to read your fabric and learning the stitch orientation and learning how to spot those mistakes and how to fix those mistakes. Because I get that like all the time. People will need some simple pattern and they'll make a mistake two rows down. And they're like, okay, I have to like just frog it. And it's like, no, you don't. You just have to know where you made the mistake, like to spot where you made this mistake and to know how to fix it. And then it's super easy because we all
Yeah.
make mistakes. Like there is not a single knitter out there who does not make mistakes. It's just a matter of knowing how to deal with them. And sometimes it's as simple as just making an extra stitch. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
always have to be fixed. Like some mistakes are meant to stay there, especially when it comes to like, let's say lace, right? Mistakes are more crucial because the whole thing can just go awry if you make a mistake. So spotting that mistake and then fixing things around it, I mean, the mistake might still be there, but it's not going to screw up the whole thing. So it's like,
Exactly. Yes.
I think it's like one of the best classes people can sign up. So like if you guys watching and you're thinking like, what class should I take? Start with that one because that's for sure gonna put the tools in your box that's gonna help you with any kind of knitting.
Oh, it's so true. Like that's, and it's funny because yeah, people, I had somebody sign up and they did the course and they're like, the first part's super basic, but I really need it because people, yeah, they think they know these things, but they kind of don't. Like you just have to, I mean, a lot of people do, but they get on with their knitting and they know how to knit and purl and, do their knit two together, but they don't know how to actually stop and look and oh, they might be able to recognize the mistake, but they don't know that what the mistake is or how to fix it. There's so much involved in that. But once you get it, really once you understand how to read your knitting, fixing it's easy.
It's also like a lot of us, especially like people who learn to knit as children, it's sort of on this intuitive level, and they might understand that there is something is off there, or they might understand that there's like a mistake or whatever, but they don't necessarily know why. So I feel like a class like this teaches you the why behind of what happened there and how to spot it. Because like
Yes.
I get it all the time. I need differently. I need this combination continental, and people see that and they're like immediately like, "Oh no, that's just wrong." And I knew that it wasn't wrong because I knew that my fabric, nothing was twisted, the stitches weren't twisted, but I didn't have the understanding of how to explain others why it's not wrong until I understood the stitch anatomy and could read the orientation of stitches and learn about different orientation of stitches. And then I could explain to others why my method is not wrong. And it's sort of like different roads into paradise, right? Like that
Yes.
we all have different ways of achieving the same result.
Yeah, it always bothers me when I see that online, like it with when the right leg is in the back and somebody's like, no, no, that's wrong. I'm like, no, that's not wrong. Not at all. They haven't finished the stitch yet. It's just sitting on the needle.
Yeah, it's fine. Well, when you teach classes, do you learn from your students as well?
Yes, yes, all the time. Like, I don't know everything. I don't. If anything, like taking the master's program taught me how much there is that I still don't know. Like, there's just a lot, and I'm constantly learning new things. Now that I'm spinning, like, it's a whole new, like, there's so much I don't know about yarn and yarn structure, which is important as a knitter, but I'd never really thought about it until I started spinning. And that does bleed over when I'm doing a coaching program right now with some students, and they constantly like come up with like these wonderful questions, but then other ways of doing things that I hadn't thought of. And I'm like, okay, I need to write that down because it's going to go in the next version of this course because they have other experiences that I don't. And right now, there's one person in the group who is like fabulous at spreadsheets and math, and I am not. I hate math. Like, I don't like it at all. I do it because I have to, but I'm not good at it, and it's not intuitive to me. So I'm always asking her, like, check my math, or something like that. So, yes, I definitely learn. I think, like, it's important. I mean, knitting is a community and we learn from each other and we pass down skills. I mean, if you learn knitting with your parents or your grandparents, you learn those skills and you can pass them on. And, it's just like a community to me. And I still feel like I can continue learning from other knitters as well. It doesn't matter that I have this label of, it just means I know how to go do research and make really big mistakes at this point. But I can still learn from knitters from every level.
Well, when it comes to the business side of it, what's your vision for the future? Like, where do you see yourself continuing? Where do you see yourself leaning on and maybe not doing anymore?
Um, I have cut back on like designing for publications because it takes a lot of time. And I plan to release more like beginner level tutorials for different sweater constructions. Because I want to help knitters knit sweaters. That's really what I love to do. And I'm also wanting to teach more at like in-person events. And my husband's big plan is he would like to retire in 5 years when we buy a camper, and he just drives me around to all of the the knitting events, and I can go teach at them. So
That sounds
that's
like
his
fun.
retirement plan. Yeah, I think so too.
Is he super supportive in all this? Is he surprised by your success? Like, is he bragging about you to his friends?
Yes, yes, all of it. Like I am very lucky that well, when I was homeschooling, I mean, he was the primary breadwinner, and I had my little like homeschool blog and business there so that, paid the homeschool bills and a little extras. And then when that stopped and I went into like knitting as a job, I was at square one because I sold that business. And he was totally supportive with us, tightening our belts pretty much until that started to take off. And that took about 2 years of, really full-time work for not full-time money,
Right.
things to become more regular. So he's been very supportive. He, people at work, I don't know how it comes up that he knows how that they knit. So he's always, telling them about the channel. And yeah, he's probably my biggest cheerleader, definitely. Well, him and my daughter. She's the one who designed the little logo for the channel, and both of them. And well, she's very knit worthy. Him, not so much.
My youngest kid taught me how to edit my videos. So,
Yes.
and he's
Oh, they're
the
great.
logo. Yeah. Children do come handy.
They do.
What's your plan for the YouTube? Like, are you gonna do more just tutorials or you gonna do more of blogging on it?
I realized I don't really love like the vlog stuff. It feels like too much work to like set up the camera to do the little clips, and it's just a lot. Like I don't enjoy that part. The tutorials I enjoy, so those will probably continue. I am not maybe once every couple months or so, but I think I'm set from like my recording schedule. I do have a schedule. Like I live stream twice a month, and that has helped cut down on the editing because the editing takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then the end of the month podcast, and then I have that one sort of floater video where I can do a tutorial or something else if I want to do something a little easier. But for now, I think that schedule is working well for me, and it's nice. The live stream is nice because it gives me a chance to just answer random questions that knitters have that, might not even be worth it would be hard to sit and, record a 10-minute video for one question, but just to go on there and just answer questions live. And I don't know anybody else that does that, like that just any other, I mean, there's a couple things where you can like submit a question and actually get it answered by somebody.
Right.
So, and it's just nice to see, it's helpful to know what questions people have as a teacher, because that can help me in the future with, creating other tutorials or classes or things like that. I can keep an eye on the questions that seem to pop up often, which is like, yeah, reading your knitting, fixing your mistakes, all of that always comes up, twisted stitches. So, but I think just like sort of keeping your finger on the pulse of the knitting world kind of thing. That's why I like the live streams, is I can see what other knitters are going through and the things that they struggle with. And it helps me as a teacher to see that.
Right. When you go back to that Thanksgiving of 2017, if you didn't start knitting, like, can you imagine your life now without knitting?
Oh my word, no. I have no idea. I have no idea what I would be doing because I mean, this is my job now, and Yes, at times I don't like I've got knitting I've got to work on and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to do that. But then I tell myself, oh my word, you don't have to like get up and put on a business suit and go work in an office. I can sit at home and knit for work. Like, what are you complaining about? So no, I honestly I cannot imagine what I would have had to go get a job somewhere, and I can't imagine that either since I've been working from home and I love working from home for myself.
You're one of those rare knitters who does not have extensive stash from what I've heard. How do you stay so disciplined when it comes to yarn purchasing?
I'm cheap. Like I'm just, oh, I don't have much room. Like everything has to stay in this room. Like it's not a very big room. Um, and I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, I just, for me, I'm not one to collect anything. Growing up, I had to dust, and my mother collected knickknacks, and oh my word, it would take me an hour. So I don't have anything like that in my house. I just don't keep stuff. I'm just not a collector. Well, I guess knitting books. I got a lot of those. But and that I think that has bled over into knitting. It bothers me to have a lot of something I'm not using. So I wait when I have a pattern I want to knit, then that's when I get the yarn. Except I do have like a Yarnable subscription, so that's like my one splurge where I don't have any plans for that. But yeah, it's just not, I don't know, it bothers me. Like I got a bunch of yarn for Christmas in 2023. So like this past Christmas, I realized I still had like two projects I hadn't cast on from that yarn, and I had to get them cast on because I didn't want that yarn to hang out. Like it just, I don't know, like it just has to get used. But hand spun, on the other hand, is going to be a problem. Like I can buy fiber like nobody's business, and I've got a pile of it now, and I don't know what I'm going to do with all that. But
I've
yeah.
heard weaving also uses a lot of yarn, so that's another thing that you can try to do in the future.
Oh yes, I just showed my husband a loom last night. He's like, we don't have the room for that.
I've been working on my husband for a while now. Like, there's like a really like big spot now in our dining room. We can just get rid of the dining room table and put a loom.
Yes, who needs a dining room? You don't eat in the kitchen.
Well, it was such a pleasure to have you as a guest of my channel. Thank you so very much for finding time to do it in your busy schedule, I'm sure. And I hope I can take a class of yours at some festival and maybe just hang out and chat about all the other things that we talked about before this interview started.
Oh, this has been so much fun, and I got over my nerves. This is the first time I've ever been interviewed, but this was lots of fun. So you made it really fun. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.